Welcome to a special post-game daily delivery. I am Michael Rand. Vikings 27, Packers 25. It could have been easier, right? It could have been a little bit easier. Vikings fans probably sitting there thinking, man, why did it have to get so tense? Vikings up 27-10, had a chance to go in for another score, maybe a touchdown. If Darnold's pass to Jefferson on 3rd and 15 had been more accurate, that drive probably keeps going. Will Riker doinks one off the left upright after he doinked the crossbar on a long one earlier in the game. Ends up being Packers ball. They go score again. Next thing you know, it's 27-25, and the Vikings are clinging to dear life, need a couple first downs to execute in the end, but they do. They do. One to C.J. Ham, one big one to Cam Akers on an unbelievable catch. Floated it over there, fingertip catch on 3rd down, 3 kneel downs, the game was over. They don't give out style points. Thing is, for 55 minutes of this game, the Vikings dominated, right? They were up 27-10. They were the better team for the balance of the day. They were the better team for most of the day. So I'm not going to quibble too much about how this thing ended. This is just how they intend to play, and we'll get to a couple of questions about that kind of thing towards the end. But a win's a win. They're 14-2. 14-2. They have more than doubled. Like, if you bet on them to hit the over this season, they've got a double over. You should get double your money. They've got a double over. All you had to do is 7 for an over. They've got 14 with 1 game left. If they win next week in Detroit, not going to be easy, but if they win next week in Detroit, they are the number 1 seed. They are getting a first-round bye. They will be 2 home playoff games away from the Super Bowl. That is how much is at stake next week. That is what they have done, put themselves in position. We'd said, this isn't going to be easy. At Seattle, home against Green Bay, at Detroit. A brutal closing stretch. Well, took care of Seattle, took care of Green Bay. Both those games were tense. They needed every bit of what they got, every single point they had, things like that. But they got it done. Now they're 14-2. Unbelievable season, unbelievable game. Again, I thought for 3.5 quarters, this is the best they've looked in a long time. I thought this was the best game they've played overall in a long time. It was a little bit reminiscent of that first Packers game. It wasn't quite as second half lopsided, but remember that game took a 28-0 lead, had to hold on for dear life, won that game, I think, 31-29. This one, kind of the same thing, needed to make some plays in the end to hold on, but they do. Again, they do. So style points, we're not going to quibble about style points. What we're going to talk about is all the good things that happen mostly, and then a few of the bad things too. Sam Darnold, excellent again. Yeah, the turnover kind of got Green Bay back going in the other direction, but he comes right back, leads him to a touchdown drive after that. He makes the plays they have to have. A little bit dicey in the closing stretches with some of the ball security, some of those passes up for grabs, but that is kind of the Sam Darnold experience. He is going to make plays. Kevin O'Connell's going to put the ball in his hands to make plays. More often than not, he's going to reward you. Today, 33 of 43, 377, 3 touchdowns, that aforementioned 1 interception, 116.1 passer rating. The ball was all over the place today. Justin Jefferson, quiet start. Guess what? Finishes with 8 for 92. Jalen Naylor, big game for him. I believe that was a career high in receiving yards, 81, and a touchdown, including that 31-yarder beautiful dime from Sam Darnold. Jordan Addison, 6 for 69 and a touchdown. TJ Hawkinson, 5 for 68 and a touchdown. So I'm not a touchdown, but 5 for 68. So 4 guys go over 68 yards. Aaron Jones, 4 for 30. Aaron Jones didn't play at the end of the game. That's a concern to me because, if he was even 80%, he had been begging to go in that game, begging to play against his former team to close that thing out. And he was effective when he was in there. 12 carries, 47 yards, those pass yards, like I just mentioned. So he was definitely a factor in that game, a positive factor in that game. So we'll have to kind of hold our breath and see what the extent of that injury is. You saw they had a wrap on, I think it was his hamstring. He took some kind of hit early on. I don't know exactly what's going on with that, but that does bear watching. But really, another masterclass from Sam Darnold. Running game, 26 carries, 69 yards. Yeah, that wasn't terribly efficient, although 3 of those were Darnold kneel downs at the end of the game. So they more or less were averaging about 3 yards a carry. Jones getting about 4. Akers getting about 3 and Ty Chandler 5 carries for 7 yards. They thought maybe they could spring him for some. Didn't work out. So Packers, though, they barely moved the ball for the first 3.5 quarters, right? Like their only touchdown had come on that short field. Jordan Love had like 65 yards passing midway through the fourth quarter until they got kind of uncorked, got cooking a little bit. Couple touchdowns towards the end, not a touchdown, one touchdown pass, couple touchdown runs to get them back in the game. And again, folks, this got dicey, right? It was 27-25 because they had gone for 2, put themselves in position to win with the field goal if they got the ball back. And really, it came down to 2 first downs by the Vikings at the end, getting it done when they needed to. Now, if they hadn't gotten that play to Akers, I am very curious to know if Kevin O'Connell would have rolled the dice on 4th and 2, knowing that a punt, Green Bay probably gets the ball, they march down the field, they've got a great chance at a field goal. If you go for it and don't make it, yeah, they've got a short field. You've also got 2 timeouts left. You've got the potential to get the ball back and maybe get your own last-minute drive. But more than that, if you get 2 yards, the game's over. So I'm very curious to know what would have happened if they didn't make it. But they did. A great catch by Akers, a great play call. Game over, 3 kneel downs, 14-2. Let's run a bunch of your questions right now because you guys had a bunch of good ones today, and I want to do them justice right now. Ryan Campbell says, any concern with the kicking game or cornerback depth with the Lions coming up? Didn't love that Will Reichard missed a couple, although the one obviously, is a 57-yarder. You come to expect him with the big leg to just boom them from 60, 65, that he's going to be good from 57. Didn't get all of it, obviously. Hits the crossbar. Like 57, hits the crossbar. Not too concerned about that one. He made the 50-yarder, although he did miss wide right on the 55-yarder before the penalty at the end of the half. And then the 43-yarder off the left upright. That's a concern. So 2 misses, really 3 if they hadn't called that penalty. 2 of them 55+, only 2 of the misses count. It's a little concerning just because he's been so good this year, but overall, what has he missed? 4 field goals all season. He's been really good. I think he maybe just didn't have the best day. He's been really good. I'm not too concerned about that, but they do need him. They're going to need him to make a kick potentially at some point down the stretch here to win a game, and they're going to need to know that he can do that. I think he can. I think maybe he just missed a couple, mishit a couple, and that's that. So maybe getting it out of his system at that point. The cornerback depth, yeah, that's a problem because the Lions have a ton of playmakers. It's not like anybody's injured right now, but that is an area where it could get a little shaky. I am a little bit nervous about that against teams with better passing offenses. I really thought the Packers would stress them more today than they did, and they really didn't until the last 5 minutes. So that's a bigger concern to me right now than the kicker. Bob keeps reminding me of this tweet he sent September 8th, right at the start of the year, when I said, I'm not sure if it's my Gen X instinct to go against the grain or the fresh air from a necessary change at quarterback, but I find myself more intrigued about this Viking season than 2023 and tortured by the fact that there are still 4 hours until kickoff. This was 4 hours until kickoff, game 1 of the year. Bob, Rimshot44, wrote back and said, this is going to be the Keenum year. Darnold is going for 38 touchdowns. And I'm not going to say what he said at the end. But 38 touchdowns. He had Darnold for 38 touchdowns this season. What does Sammy Dimes have right now? 35 touchdowns. If he throws 3 next week against Detroit, he is going to be spot on with that prediction. So we'll see. We'll see about that. But he keeps reminding me, and I got to give him a shout out for that. Rob saying, do the Lions rest some starters tomorrow night? I did check some tiebreakers. It wouldn't be crazy for them to rest some people because even if they go into that game against the Vikings, a game down, they've got the tiebreaker over the Vikings. They got the tiebreaker against the Eagles. As long as the Lions win next week, I still think they clear all the bars and get the 1 seed. However, I don't know if that's in Dan Campbell's DNA, and I don't think this is the kind of year where at the time of year where you pull back, and you would throw an element of what if there's a tie into the mix, because then the Vikings would win if it went overtime and finished a tie. Not likely, but I don't think they do that. I think maybe they're smart. I don't think they rush anybody back, but I don't see them resting players against the 49ers. I could be wrong, but I don't see them resting players against the 49ers next week. And not next week, tomorrow night. A few more things. Kyle says, kicking woes and a couple reckless decisions from the QB. Not a question, but concerned. Yeah, there was more turnover-worthy plays from Darnold than I think you would have liked at the end of the game. They got away with a few, fluttering passes. The one that was originally ruled a fumble that was correctly overturned to an incompletion, that was a concern. But overall, I think Darnold played a pretty good game, a clean game, and they protected him about as well as I've seen them do for a long time. Brian says, it seems like the defense lets teams back in the game when up big. Is the defense changing schematically, or are the team's offenses giving them different looks to get back in the game?
Watch your dreams and savings grow with Royal Credit Union's 4.25% annual percentage yield 12-month certificate. Open now at any Royal office or online at rcu.org/certificate saver. Early withdrawal penalties could reduce earnings and principal. APY accurate as of 2/1/25. Insured by NCUA.
And St. Nick said, feels like Flores blitzing on every down those last few drives is like a boxer ahead on points trying to land a knockout. Here's what I think. I think the Vikings haven't been great in these situations because they are built to stop the run on first and second down, to blitz a lot, run blitzes on first and second down. They're actually a better defense when the other team still might run the ball a little bit when it's the first three quarters of the game. I don't think they're a great end-of-game defense, although they have had some game-sealing interceptions, things like that. But I think teams can move the ball on them when they're in a pass-only mode. So I think some of that is baked into how the Vikings like to play. They blitz a ton on first and second down, but when a team is passing all the time, none of that's going to be run blitzes. It's all, throwing blitzes, pass blitzes. Teams know it's coming. They can pick it up. And Green Bay kind of picked them apart towards the end with a lot of those blitzes. So I think it's kind of a function of how they play more than it is what an opponent is doing. Another question about the kicker. Andrew Tangwall says, anything to worry about with those missed field goals? In the moment, they didn't seem to cause panic, but it is a potential weak link looking ahead. I still don't think so. I think Reichard's been really good this season. Obviously, they've had, they had the kicker, the injury where Romo came in and did a great job. I feel like they're going to be just fine there. Vikings fans, of course, get nervous about kickers towards this time of year. I don't blame them. It's an instinct. It's a reflex, everything like that. But I don't think that should be your number one concern right now. I think right now what you should be thinking is this. If you went into this game thinking, okay, I don't know if I'm fully believing yet, I think you got to believe now. 14-2, I don't know if they're going to win next week, but it is all right in front of them. They've got a perfect chance to go 15-2 to secure that first round bye to win the division in a year where nobody thought they were going to be this good. I don't even think they thought they would be this good. Nobody thought they were going to be this good. So I think we kind of suspend all of the things you're maybe worried about. Go into this next game not like it's gravy, but like as an actual opportunity. Because if they couldn't beat the Packers, you could say, okay, is this team really ready for prime time? Well, guess what? They beat the Packers. It got dicey at the end, but they were the better team for 3.5 quarters. And the Packers have been a really good team for a lot of this season. They were just flat out better than Green Bay, and I wasn't sure that was going to be the case. So this is a team that, you don't know how this is going to turn out. You don't know what's going to happen. They could lose to Detroit next week, wind up as the 5 seed, have to go on the road. It would be a brutal 14-3 wild card. I would think they could win a first-round game. I wouldn't even put it past them to make a run, but that would be a tough run because it would probably be three straight road games unless something fluky happened in the other wild card rounds. So I think they're in position right now to do something special. I don't know if it's going to happen, but they are certainly in position right now. So let's just wrap it up like that. 27-25 over Green Bay. Thank you so much for listening. I'm sure Royce and I will talk more about this tomorrow on Monday morning's Daily Delivery. And again, what a year.